Hi guys, how's it going? This is Resident of Collard for YouTube, resident underslash of underslash Collard for BitChute, and I'm here to give a Dark Shadows update. I got this from at Cousin Barnabas on Twitter. That's Wallace McBride on Facebook. You can check him out at Cousin Barnabas, and obviously he's on Facebook, Wallace McBride. Shout out to you, dear sir. Okay, on Twitter. Okay, boils and ghouls. Here's what I know about the new Dark Shadow series. It wasn't picked up for the new television year. That sucks. Which you probably figured out. The concept is being retold and may no longer be a direct follow up to the original series. So that's from, uh, I think one of the founding members, if not the founding member of the Collinsport Historical Society. Again, go check him out. I'll leave a link to his Twitter. What do I think of that? Again, I stressed patience in my last video, and me being a Halloween fan and a Dark Shadows fan, I think that's exactly what I'm going to stress here. Patience. And trust me, for somebody who waited and waited and waited for another Dark Shadows movie to happen, and then one did, patience. Patience can be the damnedest thing. I do think, from a decision standpoint, Warner Brothers as a whole needs to decide what they want to do with Dark Shadows. I'm just not meaning plot synopsis, mind you. Whether they want to actually really sequel the original series, which I think would be neat as hell and challenging, or reboot the series, or instead of doing a television series, do another movie. I think there's plenty of options you could do with Dark Shadows. But again, Warner Brothers has to make that decision. And I think with this, the one blessing I guess I would take away from this would be this sort of gives them that time to decide that. This sort of, okay, it wasn't picked up. Now we can go back to the well, or go back to the drawing board and decide what we really want to do with this franchise and where should we head with it. And I do think they do need to go somewhere where they, somewhere where they never thought about going. And was a sequel to this series possible? Yes, I do think it was possible, and I still do. I wouldn't be so surprised if they did come back and did say, hey, we are doing that sequel to the series. Now, could they just... And again, that's my opinion. I want to stress this. When I speak, I'm giving my opinion. Do I think we'll see Dark Shadows in 2021? I think, I was reading something on BloodyDisgusting.com about the Constantine rumor that was being kicked around. Let me say this. I think a lot of what happens in 2021, not just with Dark Shadows, but with a lot of products as a whole, is going to really depend on where we are with COVID, where we are as a whole with COVID. I think that really is going to depend where Dark Shadows is or isn't as a franchise. Are they going to be on television? Are they going to be in the movie theater? If you're having stuff like Constantine and stuff go to movie theaters, then I wouldn't see why not with Dark Shadows. Again, I want to see another Dark Shadows movie. Listen, I've never once had my spirits dampened by a film, ever. Ever, ever, ever. And I've seen some pretty bad films, but I've seen some pretty good ones too. Some great. But I think the 2012 movie did not dampen my spirits. It just made me look at it in a different way. And again, I do think from a film standpoint, you could get somebody who could want and come to do Dark Shadows. I don't know who they would go and get. Now, from a television standpoint, if we saw Dark Shadows, would it work on a WB network? I'm curious with this, with WB or sorry, CW, I should say. I'm curious with this with CW. Batgirl to me has always been the most pointless character in the Batman franchise. The character herself, I hope they do a better job writing that character than what they did, because that's where they really failed the character. They did not bring that character home well. And it's funny because in the comics, the character is a lesbian, so really that's something they really need to take a hold of with this character too, is her sexuality, and present that in that way. Number two is CW. Well, what I was trying to get to the point of, where is CW stand on the superhero universe? And what I mean by that is, Swamp Thing's going to air this fall in rerun form. Basically, season 1 is going to air on CW. I'm going to watch it again, goddammit. I love me some Swamp Thing. So, but that being said, where is what I mean by where is CW in the superhero column? It's really going to depend on the success of Swamp Thing and other shows that are superhero shows on that network, to whether they stick around. Now, is CW going to be sort of the network that gets the superhero shows that maybe DC feels they can't put on the big screen? That's sort of my primary concern right there. The ones that, because here's the thing, Krypton I thought was a good series. I thought they had something there on the Sci-Fi Network. Obviously, the Sci-Fi Network didn't think they had anything. So I really love how they did Lobo. I loved how they did Lobo. I know I'm supposed to be talking Dark Shadows, and I will. This is sort of gets to that. Now, do they take Krypton and say, you know what, we're going to put that on CW? You see what I'm saying? A lot of that, what's going on with the other networks and the products that DC has out there floating around on other networks, it's really going to come down to, what is CW going to get handed by Warner Brothers, is what I'm saying. That really depends on what's going to happen with Dark Shadows as well, with a television standpoint. From a movie standpoint, I know I've said this before. I think Dark Shadow's best bet is to go to the theater instead of going to the small screen, because I just think with CW right now, with all the mess that's gone on with DC and Warner, there's just no real room for them right now. Even if they were, picked up, where would you put them? I do think that CW is going to end up being that station that gets all the hand-me-downs from a superhero standpoint of Warner Brothers. Not that Swamp Thing is a hand-me-down in my opinion, but what I mean is the ones that DC feels they can't translate money-wise to big screen. And that's going to be something. So with Dark Shadows, my hope is that we get a movie. Now, is everybody going to agree with that? Obviously not, and I wouldn't expect you to. By all means, Dark Shadows, no matter what it is, whether it ends up being a series or a movie, the one thing Warner Brothers needs to do, with all this time you have now, with everything you have going on, quit focusing on recuts of Snyder films or this cut of that film. Listen to what I'm saying. Focus on what you want to do with Dark Shadows, my friends, because that is what matters to this DS fan, and it matters to a hell of a lot of other Dark Shadows fans too. My biggest question, though, with this is, whether if they do a reboot, if they honestly reboot this, what is that going to be? You know what I mean? Are you really going to reboot the 60 series? That was sort of done in the revival. Now, the revival had great moments. But again, reboot. Again, '04 was unaired. I think you really have to look at. You can't just look at the 60 series and the revival. You really need to take a hard look at that unaired pilot and ask yourself, why didn't we pick that up? And to me, that answer is simple. It's because we were getting the same thing. That's where my opinion lies on that. That's where my opinion stands, and I'm going to stand on that firm and hard. Again, my hope is that we get a DS movie rather than a series. But listen, if we get a series, obviously, yes, I'll be there with the bells on. I will be there watching it like there's no tomorrow. So, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I want to get you guys' thoughts. Please, I will leave a link to @CousinBarnabas's Twitter. Shout out to you, Wallace McBride. Thank you so much for getting us some news. I know we probably drive you nuts, man. But thanks a lot. Seriously. From one DS fan to another. Thank you. And listen, I love coming on here and talking about the product and having fun. So, guys, it's been a crazy, crazy year, and it's not even over. So, you guys have a great, great night. Like, share, comment, and subscribe.